Hi friends, I'm Gio, and thanks for visiting my channel. I like writing gay fiction, and I present it here on my channel. So be assured, all the stories are original. We're working on the novel, Speeding. Ethan is gay, Pete is straight. Last night was Pete's blind date that wasn't a date. Pete began to realize that maybe he is not as straight as he thought, especially when he kissed his best friend. This chapter happens the next day. Chapter 7. Sunday, August 8th. Ethan. Pete kissed me last night. Pete stayed long enough to change out of the clothes I had loaned him and back into his basketball clothes. I still didn't get to bed until 1. Sabretooth and me sat on my balcony, lightly playing the guitar so as not to disturb my neighbors, and trying to calm down. Pete had kissed me. I had dreamed and fantasized about that for years. I don't think I'd ever been this excited or happy for years. My first date with Spencer was like that. It seemed like I had been in bed for 15 minutes when the alarm rang, and I dragged myself to the shower. Today better be a slow day. Tia's going to kill me. It was Tia, me, Draper, and Braddock's turn to cook for the day. Groan, moan. I should have chopped the vegetables last night. Between the wine and only a few hours of sleep, I am too tired, with my emotions bubbling over. Pete had kissed me. The way I smiled, Tia would know something happened. 24 hours until sleep time. 36 hours until I could see Pete again. Because of the randomness of our jobs, Tia, me, Draper, and Braddock had to make something that could cook itself. Crockpots were the answer. There was one problem. I couldn't focus. Pete had kissed me last night. The man I loved had kissed me, and I liked it. No, I loved it. I liked kissing Pete. Our first kiss, and probably our only kiss. Would he regret it? Would he be ashamed of me now? Maybe he was experimenting. Some straight guys try being gay or bi for a little while. Would last night destroy us? I wished Pete would kiss me again. Pete seemed so vulnerable last night, so hurting, almost desperate for someone to understand him. What started as a hug became something more. Pete kissed me last night. When I got off shift tomorrow morning, I would go over to Pete's apartment first thing, take him out to breakfast, and make sure we were okay. I mean, he kissed me, and I liked it. But I had a feeling that maybe things would be weird between us. Our friendship was too important for a kiss to destroy. I know. I'd beg forgiveness for letting him kiss me. Imagine me begging outside Pete's door with a tray of brownies and a couple of beers and screaming, "I'm sorry we kissed, but I liked it," at 7 in the morning. Was I whistling? Yep. Pete had kissed me. Was I a teenager mooning over my first crush? Or was I thinking crazy because I needed more sleep? Pete's lips were firm and took control. He had kissed me. Oh God, I have to get to work. Tia, me, and the paramedics had coordinated Sunday dinner on our last shift together, and we were making chili with cheddar cheese biscuits on the side. Okay, I was making 2 crock pots full of chili because I have the rep for being a cook. They were buying a ton of store-bought biscuit dough, mixing shredded cheese in them, and baking them. I got up early this morning, chopped everything while yawning extensively, and put the chopped veggies in baggies. I cheated. I used store-bought seasoning packets and store-bought pre-cut peppers and onions and store-bought pre-cut meat. And canned beans. Not a lot. I didn't want to hear Clint yelling, 911, Code 1, explosive methane in the pumper, right before he farted. I arrived, yawning, at the station early, while A shift was still asleep in the bunk room, and I set up the crock pots. Tia arrived next, then Draper and Braddock. Trust Tia to grind fresh coffee beans and get the 2 coffee pots started. The way to that woman's heart is through a coffee bean. Clint, of B shift, filtered in with a breakfast sandwich and a large cola. Draper was shredding cheese. I guess he didn't know it came pre-shredded, and Braddock was molding the cheese and the biscuits. I yawned for about 10 seconds. How am I going to make it through today? Pete kissed me last night. Tia saw me, passed me a cup of coffee, and gave an odd giggle before sipping her coffee. You're giving me details later. Wouldn't you know? 6:45. It had to happen on a Sunday morning, usually the quietest time of the week. I had all my baggies of chopped vegetables and frozen vegetables lined up and ready to dump into the crock-pots, and the stew meat was sizzling on the burner. The station alarm rang. 341, Code 1, motor vehicle accident with injuries. Police are on scene. Paramedics, ambulance, and fire assistance required, dispatch said. This is Alvers of 341, Code 1 confirmed, all units required, Chief said into his comm, while running out of the bunk room, hopping into his pants. Tia, have you seen Xavier? I asked, quickly wiping my hands and turning the stove off. I don't pay attention until after I get my coffee, she said, setting her mug down. You and me, let's go. The station would get mad at us. We had to leave everything out for lunch on the tables and counters. At least I turned the stove off. Tia and I played rock, paper, scissors on the way to the rig. Tia drove first today. Is B shift all here? Clint yelled. Us, Tia and Ethan and you, Braddock said. Chief? Clint asked. A shift, fill in the holes, Chief yelled. I like me some overtime, Dietrich yelled, and climbed on the pumper truck. Tia and I ran for our rig. Draper, leave the cheese, Braddock yelled to his partner. This is Tia of 341, Code 1, Priority 1 acknowledged, Tia said, as we jumped into the rig. We lit out of the station, full S&L. Draper and Braddock were slower. I pulled up the information on the screen in the rig and gave Tia the address. It was in front of Montgomery Memorial High. A long, straight road that any idiot could, if they found the right time of night, crank their car and see how fast it went. That road might be street racer paradise, but usually some weekend shift always had to clean up after the kids and their races. Today, it was us. The screen had more information from the initial police survey. I read it out loud. A car hit a wall at a high speed. 2 victims, both male, late teens. Suspected alcohol. Suspected head injury. We haven't even had our coffee yet, Tia complained, and sped up. We raced along the streets. One advantage to Sunday mornings, fewer cars, which meant we could speed through the red lights. 3 minutes later, we pulled up to a beautiful sunrise sky and the smashed remains of an older car. Officer Gillespie had arrived first and was talking on his comm. I assumed a dispatch. The car was front-end smashed against a brick retaining wall that surrounded a long, low bungalow. Long tire tracks led down the street and wobbled crazily. That must have been where the car had swerved out of control. A second set of tire tracks were next to the first, but those were straight. 2 cars had been racing, and the other one had left. Had they called it in and then left at the scene of the accident, or had they only left? Officer Gillespie would not be happy either way. Damn street racers, Draper said over the comm. Tia, leave room for the pumper. We pulled to the side of the road, leaving room for the pumper truck to get in. The paramedics parked alongside us. The paramedics got their gear and ran. Tia and I got the stretcher, collar, and backboard unloaded and followed Draper and Braddock. The pumper truck showed up, Clint driving, with Chief, Steph, and Dietrich along for the ride. "Help us," one victim screamed, the kind of scream that made my stomach cold. Male, late teens. "Davy, don't be dead. Somebody help us." It curdled my stomach, and Tia grimaced. Tia's face hardened, as I imagined mine did. We went into professional mode. "Call it, Ethan," she said. Tia made me do that my very first day, and she still makes me do it, especially if she's stressed. A 2-door silver car, estimated 5 years old, hit a brick wall. By the tracks on the road, it had been traveling at too high of a speed for the driver to handle. Based on the damage to the wall and the front of the car, it had to be going at least 50 miles per hour, but I suspect much faster. The driver lost control. The car had spun 45 degrees and hit the wall. The crash must have bent the frame because neither Draper or Braddock can get in. By the radial cracks on the windshield, one of the victims' head hit there. "Stupid kids," Tia muttered. "Somebody wasn't wearing a belt." Draper turned to quickly look at us. His face also wore the professional mask. "That's the easy one. The other kid, the screamer, is trapped between the steering wheel and his seat and is having trouble breathing. 2 critical cases, 1 ambulance." "My God, not this early," Tia said. "The head wound seems like the easiest patient to get out." "Staggered transport? Do you want me to call for backup?" I asked. "Do it," Tia said. I spoke into my comm. "Dispatch, Ethan of 341. 1 victim with head wound, the other is trapped. Both will need transport. Additional ambulance required." 341 acknowledged. "Additional transport required," dispatch said. A few seconds later, another voice came through the comm. 341, 342 responding. "Please relay any updated reports." The teenager with the head wound was the easier patient to remove from the car. Clint and the guys had to get the heavy tools to cut the other teen free. 342 would have to take care of him. Tia drove, I assisted. Braddock took the captain's chair and pounded on the partition between us and Tia. We're locked and loaded. "This is Tia of 341, Code 1, Priority 1. Request police escort. This one's bad." Sunday, August 8th. Pete. 23 days until I'm evicted. There is no way I can clean my place by then. Even worse, I had kissed Ethan last night. I never even asked him if it was okay. I just did it. Last night was the worst disaster of my life. My head pounded. I hadn't slept much. I had a hangover, too. "Pete, you have really screwed everything up. In the history of the world, no one has ever screwed their life up as much as you." "I'm straight. I've only dated women. I have to be straight. But what if I'm not? Everybody is going to think I'm gay. I'm not gay. Or am I? Ethan thinks I'm bi. Am I? Cindy will tell Mom I'm gay, but I don't know if I am. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm bi. I had kissed Ethan without asking him. Does that make me gay?" I closed my eyes and leaned on a stack of boxes and forced myself to take deep breaths. The problem was, I had kissed Ethan, and I liked it. I wanted to do it again. Tonight even. Ethan would hate me. I had to tell him I was only using him. It was an act, right? But it wasn't an act. I'm straight, but I'm not straight. I'm not gay, but maybe I am. Maybe I'm bi. Who can I even talk to about this? Not my family. Ethan would hate me for using him. Connor wouldn't understand. Thad? Sean? They had come out years ago. They wouldn't understand. Cindy? I barely knew her, and she wouldn't understand. Sabretooth and Pepperoni were the only people I could talk with. At least they wouldn't judge me, or hate me. I lined up 3 overfilled trash bags just outside my front door. Ethan will hate me. Mom will hate me. Nobody understands me, because I don't understand me, and I'm being evicted on August 31st. I surveyed the mess of my apartment. Boxes piled almost to the ceiling. Bags of clothes littered almost everything else. I had so many piles of random clothes and random junk, I couldn't even get into my bedroom. Ethan will hate me because I used him. Ethan will hate me if he ever saw my apartment. Yesterday, I almost told Ethan about being evicted, but another look at his apartment scared me from talking. A perfect apartment, weird job, a great cook, cute guy, has a lot of friends, grows his own garden, always dresses neat and sharp, easy to talk to, plays guitar. Oh crap, guys don't call other guys cute. Maybe I am gay, or bi. I don't think anybody had ever told Ethan that with the way he had his life put together, a lot of people would find that sexy. My best friend would make somebody an amazing husband. What if I was that husband? Ethan was a good sport last night. I promise, Ethan, we will never kiss again. I promise I'll never taste those velvety lips again. I promise I'll never hold your hand again. I'll be straight, even though I don't know I'm straight. Oh, God, why can't I talk to anybody? At least the crisis with Cindy was over. I can't believe Mom screwed us both. At least Ethan was there to help me. But face it, my best friend hated me now. I took a filled trash bag to the dumpster. Were my neighbors watching me do this? Linda's car was by the office. I should talk to her. Maybe she'd give me an extension or had some way to help. 3 weeks and 2 days left until I'm homeless. I'm a complete basket case today. The first time I see Ethan, I need to apologize. That is, if he is still talking to me. I walked to the office and let myself in. Linda was sitting at her desk, a phone balanced between her ear and her shoulder, and a computer in front of her. She looked up as I waited by the counter. She nodded at me, and a moment later she ended her call, got up, and walked toward me. Why did the butterflies in my stomach do flip-flops? Maybe because Linda controlled my future. Maybe because of what I did last night. I had kissed my best friend. Pete, somebody does not look happy today. Bad date, she said. It's complicated. I didn't think you came in on Sunday, I said. Being a manager means no time off. What can I do for you? She asked. I tried to give a pleasant smile, in spite of the nerves I was feeling. 2 things. Is there any way you could give me an extension? I'm trying to clean up, but I don't know if I can make it by the end of the month. I wish we had this conversation last month, but better now, she said. I'll be by on the 10th and 20th to check on progress. If our maintenance can get inside and do their work, we can talk about an extension. If not, I'm sorry it came to this. I expected as much, I said. Her phone rang and she sighed. It never ends. Thank heavens for voicemail, or I would never get any work done. What else can I do for you? This is going to sound weird, but I need a favor. Can you change my locks? I said. Linda folded her arms and became serious. Somebody getting into your place that shouldn't? So far, no, I said, and I want to keep it that way. That's an easy problem to solve. The policy says any tenant can request lock changes, but it costs $20. It can't happen until tomorrow, when maintenance gets here at 8, she said. Tomorrow morning is fine, I said, pulled out some money, and handed it to her. Thanks. Stop by tomorrow after work and you can pick up your new keys, Linda said. I'll inspect your place on Tuesday. If you're ready, I'll gladly rip up the eviction notice. Thanks, I said. I took the rest of the trash to the dumpster, then stared at the mess I lived in. Ethan had left me his 200 things list, and I quickly read through it and set it down next to the eviction notice. I could never live how Ethan did. I needed to talk to him, if he ever wanted to speak to me again. Oh, God, I had kissed my best friend. Look at this mess. This was my life. Throwing anything away would be throwing a part of me away. Giving up my stuff meant abandoning my memories. Giving up my stuff meant I didn't have anything for emergencies. Ethan was wrong. Someday I would display my beer steins, and I can't get rid of the magazines. They had articles in them I wanted to read. And my boxes of books? Some of those books I had read over and over again back in middle school. I was a lonely kid, and those books became my friends. I might want to read them again someday. Besides, there were a lot I had never read. Ethan did not understand. He gave his books to the library? I could never do that. What memories did he keep? I scanned his list. His family portrait, a painting I'd never heard of, a toy car, a box of pictures. I opened a box of old books. They smelled of old paper and mildew. A mouse had eaten the corner of the box and had burrowed in. I pulled out a couple of old paperbacks to look inside. The mouse had gnawed through the paper and made itself a nest. Gross. I liked those books. Maybe I could rescue the ones the mouse hadn't gotten to? Ethan would be ashamed of me. My best friend could never understand. Maybe it was for the best that he hated me. I'd need more trash bags. Making my way around the stack of boxes, I tried not to lean on them. The stack fell, and triggered the next set of boxes to fall, and the next. On me. The world went dark. Had I passed out? I couldn't tell. My side ached, my right hand and arm hurt, and wouldn't move. Something sharp sliced my calf. The clothing under my leg became warm and wet and sticky. It had to be blood. Something wet trickled down my head. More blood? My head ached on the outside now. The boxes had hit my head. I breathed faster and faster. My ribs ached. I couldn't see. My phone, where was it? In my pocket, my right pocket. Slowly, I reached across my body and awkwardly angled my hand into my pocket and found my phone. The boxes pressed on me. My ribs hurt. It hurt to breathe. The boxes and the angle I lay at kept me from pulling the phone out of my pocket. The screen was a flat piece of plastic. How could I call someone by touch when there was nothing to touch? I had to do this by memory. Slowly, I tried unlocking the phone, and tried again, and tried again. The light flickered. Had I done it? I tried dialing. I couldn't see the screen. It might not even be the right screen. Some phones were voice-activated. Was mine? Call Ethan, I said. Call Ethan. Call Ethan. Call 911. Damn it, call somebody. My phone didn't respond. I yanked on the phone, pulling it until it was free. My side ached worse. My right arm really started to hurt. There was a puddle under my leg. Slowly, I brought the phone up so I could see the screen. I had unlocked it. But the screen was too close to my face now. I couldn't see the numbers. But I could press speed dial. Who would I call? I'd never call Mom for help. My brother? My dad? It had to be Ethan. If he didn't hate me because of last night, one look at my apartment and he would be so disgusted with me. He'd walk out immediately. Connor and Mary? Did I have their number programmed on speed dial? Or Thad and Sean? The boxes shifted a little, pressing hard on my ribs. A sharp pain throbbed through my chest. How many ribs had that box broken? Was my arm broken? The only person I could call was the person I didn't want to see how I lived. He was at work, and his job was rescuing people. If I called Ethan, he would see the real me. Some choice. Lay here trapped, call my family, or call my best friend and have him abandon me. This week sucked. I had no choice. With my nose, I activated the first call on my speed dial and brought the phone as close to my mouth as the boxes would let me. Sunday, August 8th. Ethan. Longridge. The patient is male, late teens, unconscious with a frontal head wound. He has low blood pressure and an erratic heartbeat, Braddock said into his comm. We're coming in hot. 2 minutes in, the patient's heart stopped beating. He stopped breathing, I yelled. I took over his breathing. Braddock did heart massage. Dispatch, patient has stopped breathing, Braddock yelled. Police sirens had joined ours. Cavalry's here, Tia said, and speed up. Cavalry's here, Tia said, and sped up. Tia is a demon behind the wheel when she wants to be. and she wanted to be. She has every road memorized, and with the police helping, we sped through the lights faster than normal. We arrived at Longridge in minutes. A couple of interns met us at the emergency room doors, and together we ran the stretcher in. Dr. Anderson and Braddock had one quick conversation as they took the patient to ER1. It didn't do any good. They pronounced the patient dead, only minutes after we arrived. It's not fair. We had worked so hard to keep him alive. Part of me felt cold, and I think my hands shook. Tia cried. Braddock walked around the waiting room and stared at the huge aquarium. A man and woman rushed in, and a nurse took them to Dr. Anderson in ER1. No, 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 a woman screamed from ER1. I know this is a bad time, but we need to know this immediately. Who was your son with last night? A voice asked. We'll help, a man's voice said. 342 pulled alongside the 341. The EMTs of their ambulance, along with one of the paramedics of Station 342, rushed the stretcher into the hospital, and a nurse guided them to ER2. The other teen in the accident was still alive. Both Tia and I took a bathroom break, grabbed a coffee, and by that time we had our stretcher back, and a replacement backboard and collar. I'm glad Xavier's not here, Tia said. I bet he's back at the station in front of the tube wondering what happened, I said. Braddock joined us, also with the coffee. His eyes red and face pale. His voice was soft, and he attempted a slight half-grin, but failed. Can I get a ride back to the station? Draper's heading there. Tia nodded, and I placed a hand on her shoulder. Whenever somebody died, especially a kid or a teen, she felt it as if it had been one of her own kids. The kid had looked so young. 10th grade, maybe 11th. They always looked younger when they died. Losing a patient is hard, but a driver doesn't get time to mourn, at least until after our shift. Tomorrow morning, I'd have a beer before I went to bed. Whether my friends wanted to hear the details or not, I needed to talk about this. As we started loading the stretcher in the rig, all of us completely silent, my phone rang. It was Pete. Would Pete or Thad or Sean or Connor or Mary or my folks even understand what it felt like to have a complete stranger die as you're trying to save his life? The kid had been so young. I answered the call. Hey, it's been a rough shift. Can I take you out to beers tomorrow? They fell. It hurts. A faint, muffled call. Pete weakly gasped as if he were fighting for breath. Pete, are you all right? I said, shifting into professional mode. Tia and Braddock looked up, and Tia stepped closer to listen. I angled the phone so everyone could hear. Boxes fell. On me. Can't move. Arm hurts. Can't breathe. Ribs. Fell. In glass. Bleeding. Bad. Pete, where are you? I said. My apartment. Help. He seemed to whisper from a long ways away. He stopped talking. Pete, I said, talk to me. The line remained open, but Pete didn't say anything. Pete, say something, I yelled. I am trained to think on my feet, to handle emergencies, but this time I couldn't move. My professional mask slipped. A kid had just died. Pete was hurt, and I couldn't freaking move. I stared at Tia. Dispatch, Tia said into her comm. She pointed at the passenger door, and she ran to the driver's door. Braddock jumped in back. We received a code 1, possible home accident with someone injured. We think something fell on someone. Patient is on an open line but not responding. Address, dispatch said. I told Tia. She told dispatch. Do you require police, paramedic, and fire assistance? Dispatch said. Unknown, Tia said. A moment later, the screen in the rig relayed the address and patient information. I've alerted the manager of Mojave Sands Apartments that there has been an incident, and she will be waiting at the residence, ready to unlock it, dispatch said. Police, paramedics, and fire are en route. I had never been so scared in my life. I saw Pete last night. Things are weird between us. I need to apologize, I said. What could have happened? Tia didn't take her eyes off the road. Don't go rookie on me, Ethan. We'll cope with whatever happened when we get there. I know he's your friend, but get your game face on and treat this like any other call." "Right," I said. "Ethan, you're entitled to one freak out in your career, and you just had it. You don't get any more," Braddock said. "Sorry," I said. We pulled up to Pete's apartment, double parking behind a lot of cars. 2 police cars pulled up close to us. The sirens in the distance told me the pumper truck and the paramedic truck were on their way. Pete's car was in its stall, and some garbage bags were outside his door. I jumped out and hurried to Pete's door. Officer Gillespie paced me. Braddock and Tia brought the stretcher, backboard, and neck brace. A woman pounded on Pete's door, a ring of keys in her hand. She had one selected already. "Pete, can you hear me? Pete, are you in there? Pete, the police and ambulance are here." Some of the nearby neighbors had stepped out of their apartments and stared at us as if they were watching a movie. As we approached, she turned to face us. "There's no response. I'm Linda, manager of the Mojave Sands Apartments. What do you need?" a woman said. "We received an emergency call from Pete Stone. This address," I said. "We need to get inside to check on him," Officer Gillespie said. Linda inserted the key and opened the door. "I spoke with Pete a little while ago, and he was fine, but he doesn't answer his door." The apartment was dark and smelled of sweat, dust, rotted food, mold, mildew, and damp. The odor was strong enough to make Tia take a step back. Officer Gillespie covered his nose and mouth. This was my best friend. I charged in. "Pete, we're here. Where are you?" My feet stopped. Thank you, everybody, for listening. The next chapter's coming up next week. Peace.